Forever. Dog.
All right. We've got so much to get to. We were off last week.
Yep.
2 of the biggest movies of the year have come out since the last time we've spoken.
Wow.
But the only thing I can think about right now, I'm looking at AMC City Walk Times right now. Joe, we can go see Trap like right now. There's like it's playing. There's a screening of Trap playing right now.
The fact that we could
that
just
some
stand up,
happy
walk.
audience is sitting in.
And I'm glad you're here with us. But folks, listen.
We want to be here.
No,
we want to be here.
We want to be here.
We want to be here.
I think you will agree, listener.
We have to
We
be
all
here.
could be at Trap right now, and that'd be pretty cool too.
Don't go now.
Don't go now, but after the show. Are
Go
there
check
screenings
your
after
local
the show,
listings.
Brett?
Yeah, I want Trap to be bigger than Deadpool and Wolverine. I want
Trap.
M. Night Shyamalan's Trap to make $250 million opening weekend. We can do this. Tell everyone you know. Beg them. Pay for their tickets.
A lot of people saying Brat Summer.
Trap
I'm saying
Summer.
Trap
Summer, baby.
It's
Trap Summer.
And it's about to get started. You think summer's wrapping up? It's just about to start. And by the way, you think Hartnett's in a trap? TBD.
Maybe
I
it's
feel
the
like
cops
those
that are in the
cops
trap.
Might perhaps be in.
I think that's
said
the twist.
Trap.
Have you seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie before?
I love that guy.
Now, here's the thing. Here's what's great about Trap. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. It's not going to matter.
It's going to be good.
It's not going to matter if it's good or not. He didn't screen it for critics.
Yep, because the critics
betray
he's a man
him.
of the people. They don't get to see it first.
Thank you. That's it.
They got to pay their fair share.
That's
Gotta
it.
pay their fair
the
share.
critics don't
Also,
get to see it first. I love it. Don't screen any movies for critics.
He's a smart distributor that like consistently wins financially with his projects and creatively because he makes his own way. And he probably just decided like 6 movies ago where he's like, there's no financial value in tossing this to the critics. Like my movies
and these
have a
critics,
fan base. They speak for themselves.
They're all bought
I don't
and
need them
paid
all to give this a
for.
B-, a C just because they
don't like my movies. I don't like them.
Texted them that, something mean before they went into the screening. They don't need that.
No.
They don't need that. All right.
Here's
Trap
what I
doesn't
love.
need that.
Here's what I love about M. Night Shyamalan, because we're gonna talk tonight about just like the frickin' corporate machinery that runs the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that has just become almost indistinguishable from the movies themselves. What I love about M. Night is this guy does something that almost no one does anymore. At least no one that's like putting movies in like wide release in AMC theaters. He sits down and he says, what would be a good movie? Let me write down 5 good ideas, and then I'll pick the one.
Bang
I
out
like
some log lines and see what sings
what
to
would
me.
be a good movie? Just from scratch, just like off the top of my head. What would be a good movie?
No.
Good movie.
What if he was trapped in the concert?
Ah, that's it.
That'd be sick. What if the island made them old?
That's what I love about M. Night.
Just make a movie.
It's not, he's not 8 focus groups deep.
No.
Okay, we've done 17 focus groups for the end credit sequence, and we've narrowed it down to 2. We're going to cross-reference those with the data that we mined off Facebook, and that's going to give us the best chance at the most popular, least problematic
serial killer
end
goes
credits.
to a Taylor Swift
That's what I'm
concert,
talking
all right?
about, okay? M. Night has you beat. Maybe not in the box office, Marvel, but M. Night's got you beat in our hearts. And again, the dude can have stinkers. That's the thrill. That's the M. Night roller coaster, baby. Yep. And you know what we're gonna do? We'll tease this now. We'll mention it again at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Next week we're gonna, regardless, I might come on here next week and say, "Oh boy, Trap was a stinker. Oh boy, stinky." But then what we're gonna do is we're gonna rank our top 10 M. Nights. Let's do top 10. We'll do top 10 M. Nights.
Cannot wait.
So next week we're gonna review Trap. That's all I want to talk about.
Let's see if it makes our top 10 M Nights. I know. Unfortunately, folks, we got to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, and we have to talk about Twisters.
Speaking of, this week on movies, baby, oh boy. We took 2 weeks off and everything changed. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. We're reviewing 2 movies this week that made a shit ton of money at the box office, but are they any good? Deadpool vs. Wolverine and Twisters. Deadpool and Wolverine. Even though it's kind of verse, and then it's and then it's verse. I don't know. But the actual title is Deadpool and Wolverine and Twisters. Stay tuned for our reviews of those movies, plus a lot of talk about Marvel and the whole damn state of the industry, box office updates. Oh, baby, I am so glad to be back here with you talking movies. I'm glad to be back here with
Me
you,
too.
Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Margot, roll that theme song. There it is. There it is. Yeah, Margot knows how to cue a theme song.
Bang.
I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. But how about you? Do you have it bad too? I think you do. Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, "Move, baby, you're in my seat and you don't want to mess with the Philly movie freak."
Welcome
There he is. He's back.
I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Hey, how about you? Oh, I've got it bad, too.
He's got it bad. It's a disease.
Every night of the year, like the moon, I appear at all the movie theaters all over town.
Every single one.
Cut to black, roll credits.
Whoa, baby.
I'm lost in a fog. I need someone to talk to.
Hi.
Look, the Georgia movie dog. Dog, 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 dog.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies,
I
baby.
can't get enough movies, baby.
Yeah!
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. I'm Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, here as always with my good pal and co-host, Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! Oh my God, Joe. We took 2 weeks off. The box office blew up, making more money than God.
Good.
I'm hearing Marvel is back in a big way. What the hell is going on? Margot, can we see the money? Let's see what that box office is doing. Holy shit. What the hell? That's the first weekend?
Deadpool and Wolverine is at the top, number 1 on 4,200 screens.
How is that possible?
For a total domestic gross of $211 million.
But it's an R-rated movie with edgy jokes and violence.
$211 million weekend for Deadpool and Wolverine, the 475th outing.
And that's just domestic. That's just domestic, Joe. This movie, in its opening weekend worldwide, made $590 million.
All right, so it put a sweet, sweet half bill right in the pockets of Iger and Co.
It is it's already the
Wow.
4th biggest movie of the year after its opening weekend. It is the 6th biggest opening of all time. Here are the movies that the Deadpool and Wolverine had a bigger opening than. It had a bigger opening than The Avengers, the first Avengers movie. It had a bigger opening than Jurassic World. It had a bigger opening than Black Panther. The only movies that had a bigger opening weekend than Deadpool and Wolverine are 2 of the most recent Star Wars movies, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and that one Spider-Man Far From Home that made all that money. So other than those 5, Deadpool and Wolverine is the 6th biggest opening of all time.
And only one of those movies you mentioned came out during the death of theatrical distribution,
Yep.
Deadpool and Wolverine. Apparently not. The people will put their butts in their seats for the wacky antics of Deadpool paired with the stern, curmudgeonly heroics of the Wolverine.
I wonder what people came out for, because my screening was packed.
Okay.
It was we'll talk about our personal responses, but I'm just sort of interested in what was the general public's reason for coming out to this movie in droves? Obviously there has been, I think it's the same reason Inside Out 2 did so well. There was just, people were starved for people were starved for a big Pixar movie. People were starved for a big Marvel movie. They're just starved for it. They're addicted to it, and they weren't getting it, and they finally
Which is funny
got
because
some simulation of it.
But as you know, like that's true what you just said, but also in the interim between Endgame and now, there's been a Marvel thing released every single quarter, whether it be TV or film. So they haven't been starved at all.
People were used to it every, 3 a summer. They were used to getting a bunch a year. Because we saw like leading up to this. I mean, everyone knew this was going to be big. I think you and I, we knew it was going to be huge because the way people would react to the trailers, the way people would react to the little turn your phones off thing that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, people were just dying for this dynamic, dying for this Deadpool Wolverine
a couple weeks ago on the show, I said, "Oh, their reporting is saying that it's going to launch to 165 opening weekend," and me and you both were like,
"No way,
yeah,
no
right.
way,
We'll see,
yeah, no
maybe."
Way.
211.
Yeah. It vastly exceeded it. Apparently there was like, they were throwing a party over at Disney when it crossed 200. They were like, it crossed 200. I can't believe it. This is the biggest R-rated movie. Well, it's going to easily become the biggest R-rated movie of all time domestic after this weekend. It'll surpass Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, which is still so. Enjoy your last weekend as number 1 R-rated movie of all time.
It's a good movie.
Deadpool and Wolverine will surpass it this weekend. And man, after having a by their standards, a down year last year, Disney's going to end this year with the top 2 movies. It'll be Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. And so they're going to end this year with the top 2 after giving up the box office crown last year to Universal. So Universal had one year with the crown, and then they decided to spend $160 million on Fall Guy. So that was the end of that.
That's special. And Disney is celebrating with a massive round of layoffs in their television department.
Yes. Oh, great.
Just celebrating. Brett, but what do you think was the main driving factor? Is it is it you're saying people were missing a big Marvel summer blockbuster, but also people love the character Deadpool and they love the character Wolverine? Like, what is the reason for this R-rated?
I think this
winner.
This movie was very well marketed, and I think everyone had the impression that I'm going to have a fun time at the movies at this movie.
Right.
I don't know if they knew they were in store for this weird labyrinth of Easter eggs and Marvel in-jokes and industry in-jokes. Because the actual response I did not feel like I was at like a home run of a movie when I was at my screening. Even though it was packed, it was a very split experience where there was a group of people, I would say a group of like 10 to 12 in the middle of the theater that were just overcompensating. They were loving it. Oh my gosh. Every little joke about how Disney bought Fox. They were loving it. And then the Jiminy Glick-esque laughter for the Fox in-jokes. Every little reference. Oh my, what pleasures this movie is giving me.
Maybe they work in M&A at Disney.
Oh,
it's
good
really
for them.
Funny for
good
them,
for them.
Know?
And then I will say the rest of the theater was just just literally like silent. There was a couple next to me and they were cracking me up because they were clearly just there for like, oh, Deadpool Wolverine, cool, let's have a fun time, let's chug some popcorn and go to the movies. And then every like insanely inside of baseball joke, I kept hearing this woman next to me just leaning over to her partner and going like, what?
If you weren't following the trades since 2018, if you're not on deadline every single day, starting around 2018 when 20th Century Fox went on sale, then you really won't understand this entry in the Marvel franchise.
If you read Variety every day, I'm not saying you're going to like Deadpool Wolverine, but you'll understand it.
At least you'll understand those jokes.
You might get it.
Now you also need a PhD in Marvel multiverse machinations, which is the most annoying subgenre of like nerddom of all time, understanding how Marvel Cinematic Universe timelines work. But if you are paired with both a vast familiarization with the United States mergers and acquisitions sort
you're
of system,
gonna love Deadpool and Wolverine.
You've seen every single fucking episode of Disney Plus Marvel television, this is the movie for you.
That's why it's Deadpool and Wolverine, not Deadpool versus Wolverine, because they merged corporations before the movie started. The movie itself is a corporate merger.
It is, and that is the main joke of the movie.
Yeah.
Wolverine's universe, aka the 20th Century Fox Marvel movies, are merging now, and Deadpool are merging now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the main timeline, and that's like the gag of the film.
So
It's
if you like
literally
sort of
a
giggling,
corporate "fuck you" joke.
if you don't see corporate mergers as what they are, which is like an existential threat to our culture,
Right.
and instead see them as sort of a fun little ha 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 naughty, but also ha ha fair play, then you're gonna love
Yes.
Deadpool and Wolverine. And I want to say real quickly, and Carson, I'd like you to clip this if you can, because I've said it in different varieties, but I would love to get this online and just let the backlash start pouring in, because I feel very strongly about something that's going on in the movies in the last 3 years. And the reason I knew this group of people was going to be just laughing so performatively throughout Deadpool and Wolverine is because I have not seen this for about a year now. They went nuts for the Nicole Kidman AMC promo. This crew, like it was the glory days, like we just had come out of COVID. This crew went nuts for this Nicole Kidman, because you'll still hear a little like
Always.
smattering of like, a little clap or this or that, or a little, oh, we love that. But this crew was ready. They were rehearsed. They were saying the lines. They were cheering.
Wow.
And this is like 10 to 15 people in a large full theater. And so to those people, I would like to say this, and I'm going to say it now so we can just get it out of the way, if that's okay, Joe. If you are still in the year 2024, if you are still loudly responding to the Nicole Kidman AMC promo, you might as well stand up and take a loud phone call in the middle of the movie, because that's how much you are ruining the cinematic experience for me. The Nicole Kidman ad is camp for normies. It is not camp. It is not kitsch. It is just an advertisement for the nation's largest theater chain. But if actual camp confuses you and it's too weird for you and you're standing on the outside saying, I want to feel the way people like that feel, I'm sorry, you don't get to feel that way. Camp is an exclusive experience. It's for the real ones. It's for people who live on the edge, who need more from life, who demand more for life, who don't just get automatic pleasure from the corporate spigot every day of their life, okay? Camp is deserved. It is earned. You don't just get it because you think Nicole Kidman is sort of ballpark camp, okay? This is not camp, and you need to shut up. And look, Joe and I talked before the show about trying to aim our critiques at the studios and the filmmakers and not the audience.
That's what you told me in a note. So you're just going to attack the 15 people in your screening that enjoyed the ad?
Look, that's fine. People can like what they like. Taste is a process.
Except
but
these 15
the
fuckers.
people who perform a response, a loud, vocal, performative response to the Nicole Kidman ad, are the same people who perform responses to Deadpool and Wolverine. And this is why I think it's fair to go after them, because they are Comic-Con bullies. They are fake nerds. They are fake cinephiles. They respond to empty references. They think that the end credit scene is the most important scene in the movie. They love Easter eggs more than they love sequences. They feed off the adrenaline of liking the most popular thing in the world, and they respond to criticism like their religion is being criticized. They're reply trolls. They copy and paste the same shit over and over again. They're walking, talking memes. And if you dare criticize Marvel, they say, who are you, you scum? Who are you to speak of Marvel? You're a nobody. Well, you're a celebrity-obsessed, power-obsessed bully, and you need to just sit there and chug your popcorn while Nicole Kidman's doing her advertisement for the 200th time. It's nothing. Carson, please clip that.
You don't have to clip this, Carson, but to listeners of the main show, I just want to say, as I always do, I have no qualm with people that enjoy the Nicole Kidman AMC ad. It's just fun. It's totally fine. I don't think it's a problem. I know people can get really into it, and us frequent moviegoers have to just live with that some people get excited about it, like when those bad Catholics only go to church on Christmas. But let me tell you, got no qualms. Love the speech, as I will this time and every time.
Thank you.
Disagree.
Well, speaking of AMC, they had a massive weekend too, because not only not only did Deadpool and Wolverine make all this money, and AMC gets a nice little chunk of that money. There it is right there. AMC also had their best weekend food. This is interesting. Food and beverage wise since 2019.
What?
And yes,
Cool.
and they had their
Wow.
highest sales. This being an R-rated movie, they had their highest sales of beer, wine, and cocktails of any
Wow.
weekend in AMC history.
See,
AMC history.
God, got good.
And they sold a shit ton of merch because now AMC is doing all these merch tie-ins of like, the like, I don't know.
Yeah, the buckets.
Lightly homophobic popcorn buckets.
Yes.
So they made a shit ton of money off of those. So Deadpool and Wolverine was great for Disney, great for AMC, great for the movies in general.
Here's the problem.
Financially.
Here's the problem. We have to rep AMC because, it's like Barnes and Noble.
I don't want it to go
when
away.
Barnes and Noble's the last thing in your town or like within like 30 miles of a fucking bookstore, not everybody gets to live in fucking Nashville and go to Ann Patchett's fucking bookstore or live in Park Slope and walk down the community. You have to go to a Barnes and Noble. So when the Barnes and Noble is gone, then you're just ordering books off Amazon. So we have to rep AMC's the Barnes and Noble of the movies. Like we have to be happy about AMC being successful because we need movie theaters in places where it's a movie theater desert. Sorry, I gotta stand the Dune 2 popcorn bucket.
Fair. But guess
That's
what?
all.
We can still look. Here's the thing that I thought about this week because somebody brought up the point of like, because look, spoiler alert, we didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll talk about why.
Well,
And someone was
why?
saying, but it's so good for the movies. You want the movies to exist, right? It's
Okay.
so good for the movies.
Okay.
And it's like, these two things can coexist.
Yes.
Guess what's not going to remotely affect the trajectory of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Our criticism of it.
Yeah, don't worry about this.
It can all exist. It
Right.
can all coexist. Did the movies die because Siskel and Ebert were mean a couple of times? No.
Well, maybe.
This is like
TBD.
some movies maybe. But this is like we do film criticism. Film criticism has existed side by side with the movies for the entire extent of the movies being around. And guess what? The movies are still around.
Well, now just preach. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more
right?
there. Of course.
Yeah.
Two things instantly simultaneous. Very happy AMC had a good weekend.
Very happy.
Piss poor film.
Terrible film.
Right.
Very happy that they made all that money.
Thrilled.
All right. Let's talk about a few other box office things, though, before we get into our reviews of these movies, because there's a couple other news items, box office things to discuss. Overshadowed by Deadpool and Wolverine is Twisters, which also did phenomenally. It was 80 million opening weekend.
Amazing.
And then against expectations, hung in there and made 35 million
Incredible.
in its second weekend, which was way above expectations. Everyone thought it was going to plummet because of Deadpool and Wolverine, but still did phenomenally well. Right now, I believe it's a top 10 movie on the year already after 2 weekends.
That's great.
So congrats to Twisters.
Summer of Glenn.
Summer of Glenn Powell.
Trap Summer of Glenn.
I'm very, very excited for Twisters. We'll talk about Twisters as well, but very excited to see it do well. And yeah, it's up to 235 worldwide right now, so that's very exciting. Now, Joe, I want to talk about a couple things streaming wise, which we're never going to see the streaming numbers on the box. Who knows? It's this weird black box. You don't see movies that only get released on streaming, literally just don't show. We don't know how they do or what they make or how all the money works. But I want to talk about a couple streaming things. Number one, a movie that you are a big fan of. You had it on your top 10 movies of 2024 so far, Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1. Now, this movie was a big disappointment box office wise, made $33 million off of a $100 million budget. But as you predicted, had a huge afterlife on VOD. They rushed it into VOD as a way of, they postponed the release of Chapter 2 and then rushed Chapter 1 on VOD as a way of trying to get some good news going, some good vibes going. And sure enough, this thing has been number 1 on VOD with a bullet. Who knows what that means or what the actual money is or how much Kevin gets, but this money is doing very well on VOD right now. Where are you on Horizon right now? What do you think the plan should be?
Well, I loved the plan when I first heard it. Everyone thought it was some sort of like a loser's plan to sort of move distribution for Chapter 2 to next year, but they had a solid plan. Go to VOD, make some money, find fans, And then when we get back to chapter 2, everybody will have seen it on VOD, and we might have a more successful return for theatrical release. I think it's very, very exciting. I'm getting super hyped for chapter 2. It's going to be out of competition, but still premiering at the Venice Film Festival, which is super exciting. And they're going to play Horizon Part 1 in the morning, and then you can see chapter 2 that evening. What
a great way to spend a day in Venice.
It's an amazing, dude. Come on. Alberto Barbera, he's got his head screwed on straight. Love that Venice Film Festival. And I love the way he's treating Costner with some gosh darn respect. And I think the plan's great. I mean, it did number 1 on VOD instantaneously. And I bet it got a ton of fans. I don't see why the boomer couch crowd that we bemoaned when we talked about Horizon faltering at the box office wouldn't enjoy the film. You know what I mean? I bet they liked it, and they just weren't going to go to the movie theater for it. Chapter 2, look, it's not going to do Twisters numbers, but if it can come out and it can make $18 million,
it has to come out. They've made it.
It'd be fucking great. It would be great.
Here's what I think Kevin should do: is the best thing he has going for him right now. The light at the end of the tunnel, the way that this doesn't become just a complete life swallowing disaster for him, is parts 3 and 4. He hasn't filmed any of them yet, right? Those are still, those have not gone into production at all.
As far as I understand, just some pre-production scouting stuff.
Kevin, here's what you need to do, okay? I don't know if Joe's going to like this or not, okay? This happens to TV shows all the time. Scrap 3 and 4. Okay, 3 and 4 they can't happen. There's no way. You'll look. Joe is speaking selfishly right now, though. I'm speaking in your best interest. Joe wants 3 and 4 because he wants a 12-hour Western epic that he can just sit through on Thanksgiving and ignore his family for the rest of his life.
I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea.
So what? But I'm speaking in your best interest, Kevin. Okay. Scrap 3. You can't make 3. And how are you going to do 3 and 4? Scrap 3 and 4.
Sorry. How can you not do 3 and 4?
Here's what you need to do. Okay, 2 has already been shot. 2, you got to do something with 2. Do a couple weeks of reshoots on 2. Make 2 the end. That's a fucking 6-hour Western.
But that's not the
Kevin.
end of American
That's
expansion.
So
that's not
time.
the end of the
That's
Civil
so
War period.
Time, okay?
That's not the end of the saga. It's not the end of the story, and it's not the story Kevin set out to tell. And
guess what we're not getting?
We know one thing. Well, what's the fucking difference then?
We're not getting a perfect ending to this, okay? We're not going to get a perfect ending. So you have to compromise somewhere. You either compromise with the movie. And also compromise. It's still a 6-hour Western, Kevin. That's plenty of time.
No compromise with these fascists, Kevin. Listen.
It's like the length of Eric von Stroheim's Greed. That's plenty of fucking time to tell your story. 6 hours, okay?
It isn't enough. He needs 12. That's why he set out to make the 4 parts.
All right, fine. You're gonna.
Well, I'm gonna double down right now. Hear me out, folks. All 4 chapters getting theatrical distribution, and yes, it'll be in the Criterion Collection. That is a lock.
Here's what happens if you decide to make 3 and 4. You end your life in a shallow fucking grave in the Meadowlands. That's what happens if you try to make 3 and 4. If you just slightly reshoot 2 and make it into an ending, make it into something resembling an ending with little hints of what was to come in American expansion, then you will be able to live the last 10 to 20 years of your life in some semblance of peace and comfort. If you try to make, and look, hey, if you want to get down and dirty with this, if you want to live on the edge for the rest of your life, that's fine. But 3 and 4 is the path to ruin, my friend. You need to reshoot 2 as the ending and call it a fucking day. And then you need to make an exclusive streaming deal for part 2 with one of the streamers so that you get some upfront money and don't bank on whatever fucking weird percentage of net you're getting from VOD. You need to make an exclusive deal for 2. You need to whatever bridges you burned with Yellowstone, you need to repair those bridges. Fuck. And look, I don't like this advice. Fuck. I am temperamentally, I'm with Joe. Right. Like, put your life at risk to make movies. But in this case, Kevin, I'm just telling you in your best interest. Okay, I'm giving you good advice. I'm giving you actual solid advice.
You're giving the advice of a caring and loving mother and father.
That's right. Because I don't care about the movies.
I want to give you the advice of a partner and a friend, Kevin. You had a dream. I want to dream your dream with you. Never stop dreaming. You best be making 3 and 4. And Kevin, if you need a couple extra mil, give me a ring a ding.
Joe is addicted to your movies. This is like this is like the friend who's also also like dragging you down because they need the drug that you make. I'm giving you like good sound advice from someone who is impartial because I don't want to sit through another 3-hour
bang, bang,
chapter.
ding, 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 bing, bing, bing,
Look at this, see? This is who's telling you to make 3 and 4. That's who's telling you to make 3 and 4. Don't do it, Kevin.
Pew pew.
Don't do it.
Thump.
You ever read that book Bad Company about the Cotton Club murders, Kevin? Someone's gonna pick you up on Hollywood Boulevard in an unmarked car. They're gonna drive you up the 5, and they're gonna shoot you in the back of the head in the desert if you make 3 and 4. That's what's
Kevin,
gonna happen.
Unapologetically and ahistorically, continue to do Cowboys and Indians for me. Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to. I didn't think we were gonna ever talk about Doug Liman's Roadhouse again, but
I knew we would. I knew we would,
You
Brett.
come back around.
I knew we would.
I gotta rewatch Roadhouse.
You love Roadhouse.
But no,
dude.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And Conor McGregor gives one of the worst performances on
Why
screen.
are you bringing up Roadhouse?
All right, so
today,
what?
Brett?
So what I have to tell you about Roadhouse is because Doug Liman was in the news this week because he said that apparently so Roadhouse was shot with the intention of being a theatrical release because it's a fucking movie. But then when Amazon bought MGM, Amazon inherited the rights to Roadhouse, and they decided to make it a streaming only release. This thing did not come out in theaters. You won't find it in the top 200 of the box office this year. It only came out on Amazon. And for a movie like this, where there's like, you know, it's like a star vehicle with Jake Gyllenhaal, it's got a big director, Doug Liman, a big producer, Joel Silver. Part of their deals was, I'm sure they took a slightly discounted rate in order to get points on the back end, right? Is part of their deals. But somehow, with the way this streaming shit works now, I don't understand this, but this is what Doug Liman is saying. When it went to streaming only, they apparently lost whatever percentage they would have got on the theatrical release, and they didn't get any back-end money on this movie at all. And Doug Liman says that according to Amazon, 50 million people watched this. 50 million people watched this movie on Amazon. I did the numbers. That would equate to a $750 million box office. That would be the second biggest movie of the year. If Roadhouse was released in theaters and everyone who sat on their couch and watched Roadhouse would not go to a theater to watch Roadhouse, but still.
Point stands.
But
50
still,
million
that
people
implies
watched Roadhouse.
it would be a pretty big, it
popular.
probably would have been like Twisters level, maybe if it was
popular.
released in theaters. And that, which means that the director and producer and the star would have made a nice little chunk of change on the back end. He says they did not get a dime. They did not get a dime from Amazon for this movie that got streamed 50 million times. What the fuck is going on?
If streaming continues, I'm sure this will change, but it is crazy the slew of stories we've been hearing kind of about this. It sort of reminds me of during COVID when Scarlett Johansson and a bunch of other stars and Chris Nolan were mad because they didn't distribute the films theatrically. They just put them out on the streamers because of COVID, and then nobody made any money because their whole entire deals were tied to the back end of theatrical distribution. And this just like keeps happening to people.
These deals are so weird. I can't believe
it's very weird.
Can't
I'm
believe
sure-
that the
I'm
contract
sure
would
it'll
not
change.
just be like, we get points on the back end for theatrical, streaming, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I
Right.
can't believe it would like.
If it hits 30 million people watched it,
Right.
then we get
Right.
some kickback or something. Like there's a world where I'm sure they'll make it, or I'm sure they'll be forced to make it work. But yeah, they've been so cagey about the numbers, and just now finally they're starting to release them. But chicanery abounds in the land of streaming.
It does. It does. Silicon
and
Valley,
then-
Wall
and then
Street, they
who
turn
loses?
money into
the Roadhouse
nothing.
team. Not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Justice for them.
Justice for the Roadhouse team.
That's like our Blair Witch Project team.
Look, it
The
doesn't matter
Roadhouse
if the movie
team.
sucked. If it made that amount of money, then
Sucked.
they need to see their
There's
chunk of that
nothing
money.
to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Couple news items I want to discuss because look, we've been off for a week. A lot of shit's happened. Some big events have been happening in movie world. As you alluded to, the Venice Film Festival is going on right now. Comic-Con happened. The Terrifier 3 trailer dropped. A lot of big things happened. Let's start with Venice. And really the only thing I want to talk about at Venice is that Harmony Korine's Baby Invasion screened there. Joe, what do we know about Baby Invasion? What's happening here?
Baby Invasion. It's a it's Edgelord who create it's Harmony Korine's company that created Aggro Drift.
Our number one movie of 2024
That's
with a
right.
bullet.
Their next, like, we say the word movie, but they've moved on to a different term. I forget what they say now. Their next movie is called Baby Invasion, and it's like a found footage-esque sort of home invasion terrifying thing, but all the bad guys' faces are AI babies.
Yes.
Right, Brett? And there's like many of them.
And it says tasked, and they're also like Robin Hood-y, sort of. It says tasked with entering mansions of the rich and powerful and leaving nothing behind. Players. He also describes it as like a first-person shooter video game, not as a movie.
Because it's not a movie
So
to them.
players must explore every rabbit hole before time runs out. If I cannot, I mean, we obviously loved Aggro Drift. It changed everything for me in terms of how I look at movies this year. I cannot wait for Baby Invasion. I cannot wait for all the shit that Edgelord has up their sleeves until they sort of flame out and run
Until
out
the
of money.
government puts them in a CIA black site. I'm excited for Baby Invasion, obviously. Also out of competition, of course, we already talked about Horizon Chapter 2 will be at Venice.
Sure.
But can I just mention a couple of these movies that are in competition that I'm really excited for?
Please.
Just without going crazy, folks, just some exciting things to look forward to. In competition in Venice this August, we have Pedro Almodovar's new movie, The Room Next Door, starring Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore in Almodovar.
Give me a look. It's his first in English. It's his first English language feature ever, which is cool and notable. So obviously that sounds amazing. Brady Corbett is now directing movies. The guy from 13 who grew up to be in Funny Games.
Yes.
Not the guy from Boardwalk Empire, but the other guy.
He's had like a critical hit and a critical pan, right? He had the youth of the leader or something. It was like he did some sort of like he had like a critical success, and then he did Vox Lux with Natalie Portman.
He did
Vox Lux. Yeah, this is his third movie. This is his third movie.
Oh my gosh,
this is his third movie. Yes.
Okay, cool.
I got to look up his.
I didn't know he
did
that movie.
Sorry,
but that movie sounds really good, and it has a bunch of cool people in it. This movie's called The Brutalist. Anyway, that's one.
This
is
his third one, The Brutalist. Yeah.
Luca Guadagnino.
The Childhood of a Leader was his first one. I have not seen. I haven't seen it, but it was a critical like success, and then Vox Lux, which is a divisive, everybody has their own opinion kind of movie. But The Brutalist is what 3 hours or something crazy. He went big for the brutal. I love it. I love following up Vox Lux with a big swing. I wish you the best, Brady Corbett.
Me too. And it has Adrian Brody in it.
It's yeah.
Marion Cotillard.
Yeah.
Queer. Luca Guadagnino's Queer with Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connor. I know Brett didn't love Challengers, but who doesn't want to see Luca Guadagnino's Queer with Daniel Craig?
I didn't love Challengers, but I said more, please.
Yeah, right. Yeah, come on.
Keep making movies.
That's going to be great.
No shade.
Yeah, obviously. Do you know what's in competition at Venice? Is Joker 2. Joker Followed 2.
In competition?
It's in competition at Venice. I don't know if it's going to win.
It's going to get like
it's not out of competition.
Joaquin
it's in competition.
Joaquin's going to get Best Actor or something like that.
Maybe. And then last but not least, I mean, this just sounds diabolical. Helena Rain, she directed Bodies. She's actually an amazing theater actor out of Amsterdam. But her new movie is with Nicole Kidman. And listen to this little blurb. A romantic drama where a high-powered CEO falls for a much younger intern, exploring themes of power, love, and ambition in the corporate world. And you know Nicole's going to be that CEO. So we'll be seeing that. That movie's called Baby Girl. So anyway, that's just a couple, Brett. I read through all the competition films. Just like when we reviewed Cannes and saw all the good things coming down the pipeline, we're going to be gorging on good movies coming out.
There's a lot of exciting stuff for the second half of the year. And this was, I thought this was true. The first Joker won the top prize at Venice. It won the Golden Bear or the Golden Lion or whatever they call it. Golden Lion. Yeah. It won. Yeah. Venice loves Joker. So who knows? Folia Do might clean up.
Venice is so weird.
Venice is weird.
Bears Berlin. Yeah, Lion is.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Venice. That is. Oh, Brett. You know what would be so great? Thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. One day, wouldn't it be fun if the podcast was popular enough where we got to go to Venice festival and see a bunch of the movies? That would be fun.
I would love to go to Venice.
Me too.
Love to go to Venice. Terrifier 3 trailer drop. What do you think? You excited? That's one of mine. It's on my fantasy list.
Of course I'm excited. You know I love Terrifier.
Yes.
I love the Christmas angle. I loved it the second I heard they were
love
doing
the Christmas
Christmas.
angle.
And, I like that the images look super gory and Terrifiery in the trailer, but I also love that they look low-key and cheap's the wrong word, but let's just say it. Cheap. It looks like they didn't get the $30 million Terrifier 3 budget. It looks like they're making this bad boy for, whatever, 2, 3, 4 mil.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Thank
I love
God.
Them. Thank you.
When I saw Art the Clown doing dressed as Santa doing like a snow angel in just a pool of blood, I was like, and it looked like it was on like a like the cheapest soundstage you've ever seen. I was in heaven.
Me too.
I was in heaven.
I think it would be easy for that. Maybe 4 they'll do it, but that franchise makes a lot of money after 2, which is super cool. But I like they're sticking to their roots.
Stick to your guns.
And
stick to your guns.
Why wouldn't they? The business plan dictates you should stick to your guns. Keep that cost controlled, baby.
All right, now let's talk about freaking Comic-Con, because that shit show happened since we've been on the break. So the big news coming out of Comic-Con is sort of like Marvel either righting the ship or sort of clarifying the trajectory of the ship, because the last episode that we did before the break, we talked about how Marvel was at this real crossroads. They had by their standards some stinkers in a row, and kind of stinkers in different senses, like financially not at what they were used to, critically panned, and also just like the worst thing for Marvel is when a movie just doesn't give them the possibility to like spawn other movies, because their superpower, if the MCU has a superpower, it's self-regeneration,
franchising franchises,
exactly,
and
franchises on
and
franchises. I mean, that's why they did the multiverse. One of the most cynical plot devices in any franchise ever is because the multiverse gave them the power to just constantly like wipe slates clean and ignore plot points and just replicate their thing over and over and over again without any worry about sort of like consistency or this and that. And it gave them the ability to like start over when they like mess up with Fantastic Four or whatever, this and that. So going into Comic-Con, there was big question marks, because everyone knew Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be big, but the next Avengers movie, which is supposed to start filming in March for a 2026 release, they had just fired the most recent writer. There was no director assigned to it. They had parted ways with Jonathan Majors, who's supposed to be the big villain. So there was, who knew what was next for Marvel? And then sure enough, they had it all too big to fail style. They had it all planned out, and they come out in a big way at this Comic-Con. They announced that the Russo brothers, who are their most bankable directors, that's the guys that directed all the Captain Americas and the 2 most profitable Avengers movies, and I think are like the most profitable directors of all time, just off the back of
more than James Cameron.
I believe so. Off the back
crazy,
of
man.
Endgame and Infinity Wars, I think they just edge out. Damn. I don't know. It would either be them or Cameron, right? I read something that they're the most profitable, but like Cameron has both Avatars and Titanic. It's got to be neck and neck.
Whatever.
But it's those 2. So they bring the Russo brothers back, and then the big thing that everyone knows about by now is Dr. Doom is going to be the new big villain. The guy, mostly the Fantastic Four villain, is going to be the big new villain of the Avengers. Both the next 2 Avengers, the one in 2026 is now called Doomsday, and then the one in 2027 has always been called Secret Wars. And then who is going to be playing Dr. Doom? That was the big reveal. They brought out a bunch of Dr. Doom looking guys, and then one stepped forward and took off his mask.
Syrian Hines.
It was Syrian Hines. You hear like one person.
Me.
Woo! Yes! Yes!
Fuck yeah, smart casting. He's going to nail it.
Great casting. No, it was Robert Downey. It was Robert Downey Jr.
Robert
It was
Downey
Iron
Jr.
Man.
Okay.
It was fucking Iron Man. So Marvel just said, what makes money? Do that.
Mm-hmm. Not just that, Brett.
Yeah.
Apparently, they backed up the money truck. The Russo brothers are getting paid $80 million for the 2 films.
Great.
And Robert Downey Jr., according to reports, is being paid substantially more than that to come back. And
I love the
Dr.
phrase. I
Doom.
love the phrase. Significantly more than 80 million.
Significantly more.
The fuck does that mean?
for 2 movies, and
Yeah.
and then he's gonna get his own, not just the beautiful trailer. He has like a trailer park. It's like when they built the Green Zone in Iraq after we invaded Baghdad. Just like a fucking city they're gonna build for Robert Downey
Probably the
Jr.
same contractor they
Probably,
used for Baghdad.
Halliburton's gonna fucking do the Marvel
Trailer encampment is the
trailer
phrase.
encampment, and he's getting a planes everywhere,
Private jet travel,
obviously.
dedicated security.
He's getting the whole fucking works for $1 bajillion and points probably.
And also,
right? Yeah.
this is for what? 2 weeks at Pinewood Studios.
That's what I was going to say. First of all, Doctor Doom, not that I'm like the comic expert, from what I've read, folks, he just wears his mask the whole entire time. Like, who knows how much Robert Downey Jr. is even going to have to be there.
Yeah.
And then B, it's like, they don't film on sets. He just goes into the big room.
Yeah.
They golf cart him from his Halliburton-esque encampment to the green screen room. He puts on his Doctor Doom mask. He says the lines. They alter the voice in post, and he collects $120 million
Great.
before they even get to the part where the points happen. I'm sure he gets 1% or 0.001% of the back end, and that's $1 trillion.
That was Sear and Hines money. You stole it from Hines.
Asshole.
That's Hines money.
That'd be so cool if they made all that stink and then Syrian Hines came out. That'd have been the best. But they didn't. It was Robert Downey Jr. So it seems Marvel fans even, a lot of people bemoaning this choice, especially some of the comic book nerds, losers, lovers on the internet.
You guys run the world. I'm sorry. We can be mean. Like,
look.
This isn't punching
here's
down.
facts. Number 1, what I say doesn't matter. And number 2, comic books are for children. So a lot of people like hate this choice, Brett.
Yeah.
But can I just I have to say something I'm going to kind of zag.
Oh, you like this choice?
No, it's not about, I I love it. No, I think what I want to say is, like, I think business wise, a lot of people are saying, oh, this is a step backwards. They're just going back to what works. But after everything that's happened between Endgame and Deadpool and Wolverine, that whole entire chunk, everything, was a mess. And I kind of want to give Feige and Marvel like a bit of a pass. All right, here's my bit of a pass for the fuck ups in phase like 4 at the end and 5 or whatever the hell. Up until Endgame, when Endgame came out, everybody, like, critically and culturally, was impressed that Marvel was able to take, 20 movies and bring them through a whole entire cohesive story, and then, as ham-fisted as it might have seemed in Endgame, excitingly bring all of those narrative strands to an end. And it was very, like, impressive theatrical concept that really worked financially. And so it's been really weird in the 4 years after that, besides that Spider-Man movie that came out right after Endgame, everything kind of stunk. But you know what? I bet it had to do with a couple things that were outside of sort of Marvel's control. A, the way that COVID shook the entertainment industry, and the way that COVID probably shook Disney's eyes from theatrical to streaming. And they put a huge emphasis on Disney Plus. They went hard with, like, the WandaVision, and then they overdid it with all of the different Marvel TV shows, just like Star Wars did, and that got way too convoluted. They got too deep into streaming,
and same with their animated division. I mean, that's what happened with Pixar. That would happen with Disney animation,
and it also had to do with, like, Chapek leaving and then bringing Iger back, and then Bob Iger having to right the ship, and, like, Iger comes back, and is it like the multiverse was hot for a second? Basically what I'm saying is, as we know, because we work in the industry in a smaller but the same industry in a smaller capacity, it's been a bad 3 or 4 years. So I'm not surprised that the creative, quote unquote, results have been lackluster for Disney. I feel like this Deadpool and Wolverine moment, they got the acquisition of 20th Century Fox in 2019. They finally turned it into something very valuable with Deadpool and Wolverine. And you know what? They went back to the fucking and they brought Robert Downey Jr. back and the Russo brothers back. I bet it makes everybody feel a lot safer, makes the investors feel safer.
That's what it
and
is.
I bet it is going to yield financial results, and I bet it's also going to bring the audience back to Marvel. I think if they went I mean, I think and think about the Kang thing. I think the Kang thing would have worked. I think Jonathan Majors, before he became, before we knew about what happened with him privately and his criminal domestic allegations, whatever that was all about. I think the Kang thing was going to work. I think that was going to be good. Jonathan Majors was a pretty impactful screen presence, and I bet he kind of would have had the star power if he had the opportunity, but that wasn't in the cards. So I kind of feel like if I was Feige and I'm looking, at all my options, I kind of feel like though it's safe for a reason, and also it's going to work. It's like why Kamala's going to pick Josh Shapiro tomorrow, because it's safe, but it's going to work, It's just it's the centrist option because they need to win. And that's sort of what Feige did with the doomsday thing.
I totally understand it as a business decision, as a financial decision, which is the only decision that they're making now. And that's why we talked about earlier the pleasure of M. Night Shyamalan is here you have a guy who is just thinking of good movies and making them like the old days. But when it comes to Disney and Marvel, there is just too much money at stake. And so the only determining factor is financial. What is going to get butts in seats? What is going to sell tickets? And that is always, it's the same decision that Pixar made with Inside Out 2. We've had a couple stinkers in a row. Oh no. What was our last truly bankable hit? Let's do a sequel to that. And sure enough, it kills. So Marvel is making the same kind of safe financial decisions by bringing the Russo brothers back, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. And and they know they can, the thing is they know they can piss off the nerds because the nerds are still going to come see the movie come hell or high water. Having Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom just gives them such a big marketing angle. Yeah. They're going to shove this thing down everyone's throats. Everyone's going to go see it. It's going to make a shit ton of money. The problem with all of this is the problem that I had with Deadpool and Wolverine, if we can start digging into that, which is at this point, we are no longer watching movies. Marvel is not making movies. Marvel is making financial wagers for a franchise that should have reached its sort of natural end by now. It should have reached the natural sort of lifespan, and it did. But Marvel is the franchise that refuses to die, that refuses to let sort of the conclusion of its narrative be the conclusion of its franchise. And so we are now in this awkward afterlife where Marvel is pulling every trick out of the bag possible, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. with Deadpool and Wolverine, trying to monetize a satire of themselves. It's they're pulling every sort of trick out of the bag to keep the thing, to keep the machine going, bring Wolverine back to life.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
Bring characters back to life, utilizing the multiverse to do whatever the fuck they want. But the goal right now is just keep this money train rolling for as long as possible. And I totally get it financially. I mean, why wouldn't you do that if you were Disney? This thing is making more money than God. But creatively, as someone who goes to the movies, man, it sucks.
Absolutely.
It fucking sucks.
But like you're saying, Brett, and Deadpool and Wolverine is the proof in the pudding.
Yes.
There's no difference between the product and the financial equation anymore.
Yep. And let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine now, because for a mainstream comic book movie that had the 6th biggest opening of all time, it is hard to make sense of this movie, particularly for the first 30 minutes, because it is just this onslaught, this barrage of Marvel references and industry in-jokes and multiverse nonsense and Ryan Reynolds jokes, which are just the shape of a joke without a punchline. It's just the sound of Ryan Reynolds indicating that he's making a joke, but then if you think about it for a second, you're what was the joke? What's the joke in the joke though? There's no joke. It's just Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan Reynolds shtick. And so you were just, and then Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and cameos, and you were just hit with this barrage, this endless fucking barrage of this shit for the first 30 minutes, for the entire movie. But for the first 30 minutes, I was what? I was trying to get a breath in, and I was what is this movie? What is happening? What am I watching? What is any of this? And then when you finally come up for air, you realize the point is the barrage. This is a movie that's trying to bludgeon you into submission. It is trying to quickly and ruthlessly imitate some sort of big meta in-joke cultural moment that it thinks it is happening. And if you're not like laughing at it, it's because you don't get it. But when in fact, there's nothing to get here. There's no joke to the jokes. There is just like the competition of like laughing first and loudest at all the references. And like I said, there was a group of people at my screening that fell hook, line, and sinker that were more than happy to just bellow with deep laughs at all the references to the Disney Fox merger and like the weird like Mad Max references that had no joke to them, that were just an empty reference. At the end of the day, though, this is a movie. The snake has like fully eaten its own tail. The MCU has like collapsed in on itself. This is a movie about the perpetuation of the MCU. It's a movie that kind of admits to you that the MCU is in crisis and is trying to find a way forward. But the movie represents what the MCU does as a whole, which it monetizes everything. It monetizes the backlash to itself. It monetizes satire of itself. It monetizes its inversion. It monetizes the characters that it has discarded along the way because they weren't profitable, and now it's bringing them back as cameos. This movie is a testament to Marvel's ability to monetize every inch of its IP, every little sliver of its IP, including the backlash and the reaction to its IP. This movie is like a testament to corporate power, and it's disguised as like a punk satire, but the fact that it's Marvel's punk satire of itself just reinforces the corporate hegemony of it all. This is not a movie. This is a like corporation refusing to die in front of you for 2 hours, and it's all hosted by the very affable Ryan Reynolds. This is a problem, this movie, if this is the future of movies and the future of the most profitable movies that we're going to be watching. And if you're still invested, and I know we're trying to go easy on the audience here, Joe, but I just have to say, if you are, I'm not talking about kids, if you're an adult who is still invested in the MCU at this point, you're not a nerd. I know like you go to Comic-Con and you feel like, oh, all the nerds are together. You're not nerds. You are the power structure. You are, and if you're not profiting from the power structure, but you're complicit in endorsing it like at all costs, then you're just a corporate stooge. You're not a nerd. You're mainstream. You're like the big thing. You're the main thing. Nerds are people who search out things. They look for obscurities because they're not getting what they want from the mainstream. You're not nerds. You're stooges. You're the guys at the corporate retreat clapping along to the corporate video. And if Deadpool and Wolverine is anything, if I could put it in any genre, it's not a comic book movie. Deadpool and Wolverine are those like, you know, when you go to a corporate retreat and the company has filmed a skit that it plays for everybody, and it's doing in-jokes about like, and if Sandra from HR was here, here's what she would say. That's what Deadpool and Wolverine felt like. It felt like the video they would show. It's like they got Ryan and Hugh to do like a fun video for the Marvel corporate retreat, except they released it on 5,000 screens and it made more money than God. But this never at any point feels like a movie. It feels like we are at some weird sort of like alternate universe, like corporate celebration of itself.
It's like
its refusal to die.
We went to the upfronts.
And
it was like Kimmel was hosting the upfronts.
That's exactly
and he was like
what this movie
the
is.
execs.
Exactly what this is.
Right.
This is what Marvel, this should have been 20 minutes and it should have been shown at the upfronts. This should not have been screened for audiences. Audiences deserve story and character, and they deserve like here's what I would have loved. Hey, what if Deadpool and Wolverine go on a fun quest together?
Would have loved it.
Wouldn't that be great?
I obviously like Wolverine, okay? Because I like
I
X-Men,
love Wolverine.
and I love Hugh Jackman, and I like the character Wolverine, and I love Logan, and like I love Hugh Jackman, I love Wolverine. I even kind of like Deadpool. Like I don't like love Deadpool, but I saw Deadpool 1 and I saw Deadpool 2, and Deadpool 1, it made me laugh a bunch of times, and Deadpool 2, it was all right. Deadpool's the merc with the mouth. He's a funny guy. If they just went on a adventure,
right,
and they had to like save something normal, and they did like more buddy cop stuff, but the whole entire time, instead of them doing the buddy cop movie, they're like explaining the strains of time and matter in the Marvel universe and the machinations of the 2019 merger of 20th Century Fox and Disney. I just wanted to see Deadpool and Wolverine like pull some stunts and like go to a bar and like shoot some bad guys and like run around New York or pick a fun spot or locale. I'm not against like comic book movies are going to happen and they're going to make a lot of money and I'm okay with living in that world. I've liked a couple comic book movies very much in my day. But like, I don't know, like Deadpool and Wolverine was just such an unfun watch, not because of the characters necessarily, but because they were forced to slog through this weird meta joke that also was working to set up franchises and explain people and timelines. It's just like, can Deadpool and Wolverine just have to get like some big bad guys like robbing all the banks or breaking all the buildings, or just Doc Ock is loose in New York.
And because this movie is actually about the sort of like plight of the MCU or like the creative crisis of the MCU, what happens then is all of the characters and the themes become representative of this corporate crisis. So you can't even like cheer for like comic book heroes in this movie, because when you're cheering for the comic book heroes, all you're doing is cheering for the regeneration of this massive corporate film franchise. And that's always true with every, but they make it so transparent. It takes all of the fun out of a comic book movie. This is one of the most like cynical manipulations of an audience I've ever seen on a screen, this movie, because Deadpool and Wolverine's central message is that the MCU is bankrupt creatively, thematically, character-wise. Deadpool is like thinks he's gonna like save it, and then but the whole message of the movie is like MCU is like stuck. We're in like a rut, right? But instead of being like honest about this confession and coming up with good movie ideas, they confess to it in order to get ahead of their own decline and monetize that decline as a way of regenerating themselves into this whole new phase. The MCU with this movie is literally monetizing its own emptiness. Deadpool and Wolverine is the ninth circle of late-stage capitalist hell. It is the snake eating itself. It is the completion of the vicious cycle. It is the angry revenge of a corporation that has no ideas beyond its own perpetuation. It is like the fury. Remember when we like couldn't get Dianne Feinstein to like retire and she had to die?
I do.
And like we barely got Joe Biden to retire. This is like the energy coming out of the MCU right now is just this immovable, like massive, powerful edifice that is like in halfway down. It's halfway in a state of collapse, and it refuses to collapse, and it is figuring out ways to like monetize its half collapse in order to prop itself up again for another 20 years. Everything has a life cycle. It's fine that things like reach an end and then we have to come up with new ideas. New ideas are great, but this movie has no new ideas. It just has like this clinging to itself as the only like possible future. I'm sick of the fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm sick of it.
All right, here's what I liked. I think I already said my nice thing. Which
I'm very glad that Wesley Snipes got a paycheck.
Okay,
long overdue. Long overdue.
All right, a couple errant notes. I agree with Brett. Number one, okay, rated R. Deadpool's really violent. Like this movie wasn't violent. Like I know there was a lot of like gunshot noises sometimes, but none of the violence landed. Violence in movies, like in order for it to be impactful, has to have like stakes and or pain at the other side. Neither Deadpool nor Wolverine can like get hurt and or die. And none of the action sequences were set up to be super impactfully enjoyed, except maybe the opening credit sequence.
There's no tension in the fights because neither Deadpool or Wolverine experience pain.
I know.
Sorry for the experience pain, but they can't be mortally wounded. And so it's literally, Joe, you did the like impression of it before. It's literally just like every fight scene is just like a gun to your head and a knife to your side, and it's just like they go, ow.
Okay. Also, like, wasn't sorry to like be always on, but just to say it, like,
don't apologize.
Wasn't sexy. Like one of the things about one of the things there wasn't even like the thought of sexiness except Hugh Jackman's body at the end. I guess. But even that, it's not fun. Like Deadpool 1, there was that whole lovely, like, romantic chemistry thing with the woman from what's that woman's name? I forget her name. She's a
Marina
good actor.
Baccarin.
Thank you very much. The Marina Baccarin, Ryan Reynolds, like, chemistry thing was so great in Deadpool 1, and it also added the fact that Deadpool has sexual elements into it. But now that it's the Disneyfication of Deadpool, folks, sad day. More notes. Emma Corrin played the bad guy. The bad guy, this is classic Marvel Universe stuff. Not a threat. Like, don't understand. Like, they have all these Marvel bad guys. They have infinite power.
Yeah.
The end of the world is always what the hero's trying to prevent. Like, the end of all of time and space is what's at stake in this movie. You feel none of it. You never have in a lot of these Marvel movies.
Have you forgotten the concept of kryptonite? Like, one of the key aspects in superhero movies is vulnerability. This movie was just one character after another who is incapable of experiencing any sort of mortal wound, just like going at each other with no risk. Because, again, these movies at this point are not about they're not about a singular movie. Everything is thought of in terms of these massive sort of corporate machinations over the course of multiple movies. And so they can never put they never put characters in any sort of real danger. They never want you to experience any sort of tension because they want you to think of these characters as just always around, always existing, always omnipresent. And that kills like any inherent tension in any of these movies. I sat there through every fight scene, which, by the way, are like expertly choreographed and shot in their way. But the problem is the central characters just can't, there's no stakes because they can't be hurt. And so like there's no tension in the movie. You sit there bored.
They weren't expert in excuse me, but they were boring. They weren't cool.
Boring.
So the first opening credit scene has Deadpool using Wolverine's skeleton as a weapon to kill all these guys in a violent fashion while Bye 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 NSYNC plays. Okay, so I'm sitting there.
That was okay.
I'm in an IMAX movie theater, and I'm spending 2 hours of my life seeing Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I want it to be funny. Like, I want it to be good. I know I'm not going to love it. I know I'm probably going to roll my eyes a lot, but like, I have to sit there and watch it. Like, I am rooting for every movie we see. So at first I'm like, okay, you know what? This is kind of bringing it. Like, Bye Bye Bye. And you know what? I'm starting to remember. Deadpool is like, some of those lines, they kind of make me crack up. I was thinking, okay. But they do then it's diminishing returns the entire movie across every facet. Deadpool's little comments, constant and undying, and become less and less funny over time, and it just atrophies and dies in front of you. This fight sequence set to like an upbeat song that provides like an anachronism. They do this for every single unimpactful fight sequence in the movie, and it is really hard to watch.
By the time we got to
now they're fighting and they're playing like a virgin. Now they're fighting and they're playing like Grease.
The Grease one, Joe.
Isn't that a funny?
By the time we got to the fight
happy
scene,
song paired with violence, isn't that funny? It's like, stop.
By the time we got to the fight scene in the Honda Odyssey, scored to, I can't remember what fucking Grease song it was, but a song from Grease, I was like, this is, you know what? It's like, it's kind of depressing that this movie like wasn't written by AI, because it feels like this sort of AI jukebox of a movie where it's like we put in these like these sort of cultural signifiers, and then you've picked the specifics and then just cycle it 8 times.
Weird.
It's depressing that this was not written by AI, but in fact was written by 5 different people, as it shows you in the opening credits. And it made me think that the reason that AI is ultimately going to like crush human creativity and like take over is not because it's like better and smarter than humans, but because it's going to trick humans into like competing with AI, or it's like humans are like coming towards AI and thinking in the same way. Humans think more and more in terms of like algorithms and like focus tested algorithms and marketing and demographics and all of this stuff, instead of just being creative like M. Night Shyamalan does when he comes up with a movie.
Philly Zone.
And I think that this movie was like reminding me of like, this is why AI is going to win. Not because it's like, not because humans are just like, it's like human creativity versus AI, but because humans are just going to become more and more like AI. And then AI is going to win that battle every day of the week because AI is better at being AI than humans are at being AI. It's one of the thoughts I had. I was just like sitting there in this screening thinking of things.
My least favorite cameo was Chris Evans. Wow. Just retire from acting if you're not into it, fucker. You're so unfunny. Weird. Best cameo, Henry Cavill did a little Wolverine.
I always like seeing Cavill.
You're never not gonna put Cavill up there.
Snipes and Cavill won it 1A, 1B.
Snipes, I was happy for he got the paycheck. Sad because I wanted to stand up and go, just make Blade 4 with Snipes. Why not?
And also, why is Snipes not getting a cut of these Deadpool movies? Blade is as we've said this way back when on Weekend at Bergman's, that Blade is really the big, before Iron Man, Blade is like the first big Marvel movie. Blade really creates the possibility of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if it had been the template for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'd be having a lot more fun this whole time with all these movies.
Preach.
Snipes should be getting a cut of every one of these damn movies.
Channing Tatum was funny in this movie. And then finally, here's something else I'll want to say nice about the movie. This Hugh Jackman character.
You like Hugh?
Dude, this guy is so good. Hugh Jackman Wolverine is in this like real fucking unfunny stinker. He is so game and he brings so much presence and talent. There's like 3 parts where Wolverine has to give like a dumb, sad speech where he sort of, brings the pathos to the film. And each one, Hugh Jackman kind of like knocks out of the park. He has so much like in his face and in his eyes, and he's bringing so much to the character, and he's funny. I'm just like, this guy is incredible, and he looks amazing. And I know if he can do the boy from Oz all by himself, if I asked him to. I mean, I love that guy. I love you, Hugh. Thank you very much for being great at acting all the time, even in Deadpool and Wolverine. So I just wanted to end Deadpool and Wolverine on a nice note, which is Hugh Jackman is a movie star for a reason. It's because the guy's a fucking movie star.
I want to end Deadpool and Wolverine by talking about a specific type of guy that is the opposite of Hugh Jackman, who I also love. Obviously I'm talking to Ryan Reynolds. I am also talking again to John Krasinski. I'm talking to Chris Pratt. And you know what? I'm even talking to Bradley Cooper. I'm throwing you into this.
Brad.
I am talking to this type of guy that is taking over Hollywood. I mean, between these 4 guys, think of all the fucking VO work Chris Pratt gets. Think of Ryan Reynolds has the 3 biggest R-rated movies of openings of all time. Krasinski's got If and Quiet Place, both in the top 15 of the box office worldwide this year. Bradley Cooper is like the Oscar. He's like the critically acclaimed member of this group. But I am talking to a specific type of guy, and these 4 guys epitomize what I'm talking about. These highly competent, industry savvy, impossibly wealthy, perfectly coiffed mediocrities, mediocre, medium-ass talents. These are not A-listers. These are our A-listers. These are mediocrities. These bros for whom success is a foregone conclusion and the movie just becomes a medium for them to exercise their alpha disguised as a beta shtick, and then we all pay up for it like suckers. I bet the fucking Property Brothers loved Deadpool. Fuck Ryan Reynolds. Fuck John Krasinski. Fuck Bradley Cooper. Fuck Chris Pratt. You're so boring. You're all so boring. Will we never be free of your fucking reign of mediocrity? When does this end? When do movie stars come back?
May I butt in?
Yes, of course.
Good news, Brett. Movie stars are back. May I introduce you to Subject A, Mr. Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. All right.
Let's turn the page
Twisters,
to
baby.
Twisters
And
talk about Glenn Powell, Daisy Edgar Jones, and the reboot, remake, sequel to the 90s, popular film.
Number 10 on our list of the best summer blockbusters of all time.
Twister.
And can I say real quick before we talk about Twisters?
Yeah.
I rewatched Twister.
Great movie.
Before I saw Twisters. Not just a great movie, Joe. Within the sort of bounds of its genre and the expectations you would have for such a movie, A perfect movie.
Bang.
A movie that I cannot imagine how it would be made better. Within what it's trying to do, within the genre, within the character arcs, etc. A perfect freaking movie. Man, when because I'd forgotten how long it takes for you to get to the first actual twister in Twister. That first 30 minutes, though, before you even see the big tornado and go, oh my God, that tornado's big, you get incredible fucking character development. Oh my God, every dynamic is on point. From Bill Paxton to Helen Hunt. Oh my God, why don't we get Can we get some more Helen Hunt in the movies, please? She's so freaking
Deadpool and
good.
Helen Hunt.
Thank
That should be
you.
the next one, all right?
Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tar director Todd Field is in this. Carrie Elwes, Jamie Gertz, minority owner of the Atlanta Hawks, is in this. I mean, this. She's
Really?
at every she married a billionaire who bought the Hawks,
Right, I
but
think
she's
you
the
told me
face
that.
of the
Right,
purchase.
right,
She's at
right,
every
right.
game, baby.
Right.
Jamie is the face of the Atlanta Hawks.
Cool.
I love her. Jeremy
right.
Davies in this thing. I mean, this movie is so freaking good at just quickly establishing this love triangle, and then the kooky cast of characters surrounding it. Oh my God, it is funny, it is sexy, it is adult. It's like an adult feeling summer blockbuster. This movie is fucking perfect.
And it's got your thrills and chills.
It's got your thrills and
It's
chills.
scary.
When they head out to go to the first twister, to track down the first twister, and then Philip Seymour Hoffman starts cranking Deep Purple on like the loudspeaker, and then they're just like flying down these backcountry roads to find. Oh my God, it's like, this is movies. This is the movies.
So you liked it more? Did you like it more than Twisters?
I did.
Okay.
So what do you think of Twisters?
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because now that I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, I love Twisters. But before I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, I saw Twisters by itself. Okay, here's what I thought coming out of it. So just to say a little summary for those that didn't see it, Daisy Edgar Jones plays this weather savant that can always sort of tell where a tornado's going, but she suffers a terrible tragedy when she gets, in over her head in her youth, and some of her friends lose their life when she goes into F5. What kind of
F5 is the big one.
F5 tornado.
Yeah.
She loses some, so she goes to
You
New York.
can YouTube F5s. I did it. Oh boy,
Dude, tornadoes.
dude,
I'm gonna say
YouTube
this,
F5s.
Dude,
it's
no,
crazy.
It's too scary for me.
It's
Brad.
crazy.
I'm not doing that.
It's like a wall.
Scary.
It's
for
crazy.
Me. Okay, so she's a savant. She puts her friends and her friend. They go to chase a tornado and they die. She lives, and so does her partner. What's the actor's name? I'm so sorry. I host the movie podcast. We had 2 movies. I forgot the actor's name.
You're talking about Anthony Ramos.
Yeah,
Anthony Ramos from
Ramos.
Hamilton. Yeah.
So Ramos and Daisy Edgar Jones live. Anyway, they go their separate ways. It cuts to a couple years later. Ramos is working for this company where they got all this gear, and all they need now is the savant to come with them, because once they get the magic woman in the mix, she's going to help unlock their whole business. So she goes with him despite herself. And along the way, they learned that tornado chasing, it's a bit of a popular thing now. Increased in popularity by this humongous YouTuber played by Glenn Powell, this crazy fun guy and his ragtag team of Mr. Beast-esque, losers. And they go out into the tornado and they like make a big YouTube about it, and they put fireworks up in it, and they're reckless and scary.
Yep.
And Daisy Edgar Jones goes, woo, ooh, ooh, this guy is a crazy guy. He must be all wrong. Guess what she learns throughout the course of the film, folks?
He's all right.
And actually, Ramos is a little wrong, but don't worry, Ramos comes around in the end. It's a love triangle, not nearly as impactful as the one in Twister, but that's sort of the gist of this movie. Glenn,
It's a
and
love
Daisy,
triangle in a universe where no one has ever had sex before.
Well, yes, exactly, which is a problem with this movie because there is no sex in the movie. And even at the end of the movie, when Glenn Powell is supposed to kiss Daisy Edgar Jones, the movie demurs.
How dare you? How dare you in the trailer give me Glenn Powell in like a wet t-shirt and cowboy hat coming out of a house?
Looks great.
Even sitting there in the trailer, I was like, Glenn fucked at least one person coming out. Like in that house is just splayed out bodies of the orgy that Glenn Powell just exited. Surely. Nope. There's not a single. I don't know if any 2 characters like touch in this movie.
Like in Deadpool and Wolverine and in Twisters, like back-to-back weekends, huge money, big stars, both have plenty of ample opportunities to include any sort of sex. Both take the fucking pass. Twisters is just like a sexless. You know what's so crazy? It's sexless. It should have had like some insane sex scene. I wanted to see Glenn Powell, do his thing. But wait, sorry, Brett.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
But the chemistry was good. Like, I thought my favorite part about Twisters was twofold. One is, oh my God, tornadoes are scary. Okay, like,
great job on the tornadoes,
dude.
Scary tornadoes.
Tornadoes are scary, and every single time in the movie Twisters, when the big tornado was ripping apart Oklahoma, every time I was like, oh no, that is scary.
It's bad.
Like, I did not like it.
Yeah.
And the second thing was, I thought that Glenn was being sexy in the movie, and I kind of was like into his, romance with Daisy, even though her character was a little like lame and a little like thin. I thought that they did a good job of making me really want them to give a big smooch at the end, because I'm watching a fucking movie in a fucking movie theater. Kiss, losers.
Yes.
And they don't. What kind of message are we sending to our sexless Gen Zs and our children? That Glenn Powell doesn't kiss Daisy Edgar Jones at the end of Twisters?
He does at the very least. Here's what I think happened. If I can give you
I
think there's a bigger. No, I'm saying like in real, like he would.
They both spent the whole entire movie being very like excitingly sexual chemistry.
They give us tension.
If I'm not asking for the MacGruber sex scene, I just want them to have a kiss at the end.
Here's what I think is the bigger problem and what it's at the core of all this. When you rewatch Twister, the original Twister, it is a movie that is written for adults. It's a summer blockbuster. It's a Roland Emmerich movie, but it was written, or not a Roland Emmerich movie, John DeBont movie. It is written for adults though. Like the dynamics, like it's about like divorce and like, it's like for adults. But the thing is, when you write a movie like Twister for adults, the kids come along for the ride. Teenagers come along for the ride for a movie like that, because there's nothing more exciting as a teenager than when you feel like a movie is entertaining and it's giving you this doorway to adulthood and adult themes. That's fucking thrilling.
Yeah, plus tornadoes.
And tornadoes.
Perfect.
You get everything.
Right, yeah.
You get, because like kids are looking forward, looking to the future. They're like, what's adulthood going to be like? I want to get a glimpse of this. And so Twister is smart enough that it gives you both. But Twisters feels like it was written for an adult's idea of a teenager. This is the screenwriter who wrote The Revenant and the George Clooney movie The Boys in the Boat. Why the fuck is he writing Twisters? Okay, because what happens is the worst part. I know, but it's not going to be the guy you give Twisters to. It's just that the thing that the movie fails at the most, which is what the first one really succeeded at, is it really fails at like the kooky group of eccentric characters around the main characters. It fails at that so miserably. The dialogue is so hollow. Everyone is like really annoying. They all feel like they all feel like some annoying like YouTube collective. They all feel like a collective of influencers. Mm-hmm. And I know that's what they literally are, but like the pleasure of the first movie was like, man, these guys are fucking out there. This weirdo group of people. And they're like, and they also like, the first movie is so good about having them all sort of like fight with each other because they're around each other all the time. But in Twisters, the kooky group of characters is like annoyingly like they're annoyingly like
they're besties.
In besties, yeah. And it's just like you're watching them just like a high five and talk to each other's moms on the phone, and it's like, what the fuck is this shit? And it just
balls,
it
guys.
ultimately feels just like, again, like an adult, like the guy who wrote The Revenant and Boys in the Boat trying to be like, what are kids sort of like, how do they sort of like interact these days, and like how to like, because particularly the first group of eccentric people you meet is like they're all very young, they're all like kids in college essentially, and the dialogue just feels very much like I said of an adult's idea of what those kind of kids would talk about, and as a result you get stranded in between because the movie doesn't have like the actual vitality of youth because it's just some weird sort of imitation of youth, but it also doesn't have like the experience and the nuance of adulthood. It's just like it's a movie that in many ways feels scared of adulthood and its refusal to like pay off any of its sexual tension. It weirdly, like you've said, aggressively avoids this love plot that it is like telling us
which is the best part of the movie.
Yes, it's like it is just telling us that there is this love plot that it refuses to ever sort of pay off in any meaningful way. It's bizarre. It's like kind of like cynical to imply that much sexual tension without even remotely exploring like the furthest edge of it. And like you said, consider the facts here. Because we're also not like this makes it sound like we were just sitting in Twisters like a couple of perverts being like, make Glenn and Daisy kiss. But we are just going off of...
I was, in fairness.
But we are going off of what we're seeing in the movie. And here's what you see in the movie.
The whole movie's driving to this point, right?
Glenn and Daisy are both like adrenaline junkies. They are both like tornado savants.
Right.
They both look like models.
Right.
They share, beyond all that, they share this like intrinsic bond that only true love is made out of. And like they're gonna fuck. These two people are gonna, they are like, it's like two cosmic forces coming in. You can't stop these. Like, this movie has to like,
Glenn meets Daisy's mom. They all have dinner together. The mom loves
these two
Glenn.
characters are gonna fuck.
They all love each other.
It's gonna happen. You can't stop it. And like the fact that you don't allow it to happen is this weird, like,
it's called Twisters.
Yes.
Shouldn't they twist up? Shouldn't they like zoom? Shouldn't they pulled together by unknown forces?
That's the other thing. It's like
it's the whole theme of the fucking movie.
These two characters who could not be better suited for each other are also existing in this moment of like possible death at any moment. How are they not gonna fuck? They're gonna fuck at the very least, just to like release some tension.
They're both so nice. They're both so hot. They both care about the community. They both are in it for a higher cause. How are they? Look, it is so weird.
Joe and I are not like, the reason we're bringing this up is because like they don't even like kiss. They don't even like touch.
They do not.
It's bizarre.
It is uncomfortable.
It's bizarre.
This, do you think it's some sort of like, because this is a red, I'm now here I get in the basement takes, but like this is a red state movie. Like they were just like, but it's, oh yeah, like blue states are so into like, that's not what I'm saying either. But do you think there's some sort of like, oh, this is gonna play big in the Midwest? And like,
you know what it is? Much like I feel like this is much of the dialogue is like an adult's version of what young people talk like. This movie feels to me like a blue states version of what a red state movie would be. It's like the Democrats wrote a red state movie. It's exactly what it is.
That's what this
because you
like.
saw, look, and I love this director. Lee Isaac Chung did Minari, which is fucking incredible. There's a lot of really nice directed sequences in this movie. There's a sequence near the end where like everyone's like huddling in a movie theater, and then like the movie screen in the front of the movie theater like blows out from the tornado, and then you just like see the town and the tornado like where the movie screen was.
Awesome.
It's a really well executed shot.
Awesome.
It's gorgeous. He does a lot of good work in this movie. He was weirdly tiptoeing around stuff in the press tour. I don't know if you saw, but like they were asking him like, why don't you ever explicitly mention climate change in your movie about a unprecedented amount of tornadoes all happening at the same time? And he said something about like he didn't want to make the movie political. It was just about the characters and this and that, which is like it's like then this is because the funny thing is though, if you're not going to mention
then
climate
kiss.
Change, then kiss, and also this is just like, and also like this is Sharknado then, because like there's no reason why there's like 8 massive tornadoes happening at the same time in the same place.
It had a nice the political thread though was nice. People must take advantage of tornado ravaged communities. Like when a natural disaster strikes, the bad guy in Twisters like leeches off these people, probably buys their property for cheap.
That plot was
like,
very
that's
interesting.
Like a nice
that was
political
very
little,
interesting.
That's a nice little something. But
that's still a very red state. Like
it is not. It is funny to not mention climate change because the plot of Twisters is, oh my God, there's a once in 1,000 year amount of twisters in Oklahoma. There's like a bajillion of
Why
them
could this
at
be
all
happening?
times.
Why is this happening?
Why is this happening? And no one knows. But this is like a theme. And I'm not happy to report this. I'm just telling you what's up. I remember Disney a couple months ago, Bob Iger, I think, or one of his lackeys said, we need to stop. I swear to God, I'm paraphrasing. We're going to stop making woke movies or like worrying about DEI sort of initiatives, and we're just going to go back to like broad movies. And that was part of the marketing for Inside Out 2. It certainly was part of the marketing for Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was also now part of the marketing for Twisters,
Yes.
where these people are getting the talking points to come out and say, don't worry, this movie is not woke. It doesn't have anything to do with climate change. It has nothing political. It's just a fucking movie and they don't kiss. Don't worry. And I think that is a trend that we're going to be seeing more of. And I think it's financially lucrative. And I think that it's a shame, but I think that it's going to keep happening.
They did it. And I also don't know. I don't know like what impact it actually has on anything. I still think people would have come out for Inside Out too. Because I'm
starting to be suspicious of the people of the like I'm starting to think that you guys don't want your movies to have any sort of inclusionary concepts or progressive thought incorporated.
But the casting of Twister was very diverse, which is like, and like
people don't hate seeing. I think like on one hand, yeah, on the other hand, no.
It's more about the
the
marketing.
leads were white. Okay,
it's more about the marketing of the movie than I think the content of the movie. I think like
right.
People
That's what I'm
like,
saying. It's this new thing. We always have to get the PR release before the big movie comes out that don't worry, this movie's not going to be inherently political in any way, shape, or form. Which is a shame, but I think it's working financially. I mean, I think they're doing it intentionally, is what I'm saying.
I think so.
I think you should watch out for it.
The reason that whole thing happened with Bob Iger is because I think there was a couple far right members of the Disney board that basically like held the board sort of hostage and was like, we're gonna cause a fucking stink on the board of directors of Disney. We're gonna try to get a group together to get Iger fired. There was one guy in particular, I can't remember his name, but you can go look him up. But there was like a far right contingent of the board that like really held Iger's feet to the fire, and that's when he came out with this like message of like, okay, we're not going to be woke anymore, blah blah blah.
It's a shame because all of the quote unquote wokeness came out of a lot of the things that happened at the beginning of the pandemic and during the whole Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of corporations understood that they needed to right their ship in regards to like these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, but then the couple years after that were the bad years of post-COVID. Everybody wasn't going to the movies. So, Turning Red didn't make a lot of money. So now we never get to hear about a fucking, Asian American experience ever again in the entire Disney world. Because like the 2 years after COVID, when they pretended to care about diversity, those were tough financial years. So now we just have to go broad constantly. I'm kind of spinning my own narrative here, but I feel like there's a thread of something I'm saying that happened.
You're onto it. Here's the one good thing I like coming out of Twisters though is they are hinting at a third movie, and I hope that they go along with this. But there are hints in the movie that a third Twisters would take place in New York City, and it's like tornadoes hit New York City.
Love it.
I think they should do it. I want to see Glenn and Daisy like full on into like the third phase of their sexual relationship where they're trying like
they're
just
opening
entirely really opening up, and they're just like so inventive with it. I want to see like real. I want to see
incorporating like they like drive into the tornado. They like screw down into the ground and they just get busy in a tornado.
All right. It's like Cronenberg's Crash.
I'm listening.
But instead of like people being turned on by fucking in car crashes, or I can't remember exactly what that movie was about. Yeah,
David's always about.
Now Daisy and Glenn are like turned on. They can only like fuck in the eye of a tornado. It's like the only thing gets them off. So they have to like find tornadoes.
I need to get off.
Yes, and then like fucking the eye of the tornado. Because the other cool thing, much like I'm gonna put this up there with Chris Hemsworth's what did he have, the motorcycle chariot?
I love that was awesome.
Yeah, his motorcycle chariot in Furiosa. I'm gonna put Glenn Powell's tornado truck up there as one of the best vehicles of the year.
Hell yeah,
because Glenn Powell has this like pickup truck that he's outfitted so insanely where he'll drive right into the eye of the tornado, and everyone's like, what the fuck, that car's gonna get picked up and tossed around. But no, Glenn has these like drills on the truck, and he like drills down into the earth, so the truck is clinging to the earth, and it doesn't move, and so he can just sit there in the eye of this tornado and shoot fireworks up at it and whatever he wants to do.
So cool.
It's great.
Just to say it again, to put a pin in this whole entire thing, I really do think Glenn Powell is great.
I like Glenn Powell a lot.
He takes a lot of cues and finds mentorship from Tom Cruise, who is one of the great movie stars. I don't know if Glenn Powell will ever be Tom Cruise. I don't know if there will ever be another Tom Cruise again. But I do think that Glenn is a really great star who I'm really excited to continue to see being in movies. I think he was really good in Twisters. He was charming as hell. He looked amazing.
He's great in
He was
Twisters.
funny. He brought the energy. He brought the zing. Every time he was on screen, Twisters was working for me, except the end when he didn't kiss the Daisy Edgar Jones. But that wasn't Glenn's fault. He even sold that BS moment. I mean, I'm really happy for Glenn. I thought he was hotter in Twisters than he was in Hitman. But Hitman obviously hotter than Twisters because there's no kissing in Twisters. But Glenn was sexier in Twisters than in Hitman because in Hitman, he did his stupid SNL reel and I didn't want to see it. But in Twisters, he just wore the small t-shirt and the cowboy hat and he said, "Ye fucking haw." Love it.
The movie
Summer of
really,
Glenn.
he comes in like a little later than you expect. He comes in maybe like 20-minute mark, and man, you just feel the energy.
You're like, thank
You feel the
goodness.
energy when he shows up.
What do you think about Daisy Edgar Jones as an actor?
I think she's really good. I don't think she
I
was
think
given
the part kind of
I don't think she was
boring.
given a lot to do in this movie.
think she
I
was
thought she
kinda
was
good.
good. Yeah, I thought she was good, and I just would have liked to have seen them develop her relationship with Glenn Powell a little bit more. I think that would have brought out more aspects of her character.
Her character was a little soft, but
Yeah.
she did it well, and I think she's pretty good at it.
I thought they were a little like infantilizing of her in the way they wrote the character,
Yeah.
you know, just like how she has this like her relationship with her previous partner, who you see sort of early on in the movie. It just felt like this, like they were like high school Christian virgins.
Well,
or
she
stuff,
was
you know,
she was playing like a college freshman or whatever, college sophomore or whatever.
She's getting her grad degree. She was like
Oh,
in
was-
grad school. Yeah, yeah. She's like, no,
Brett's
she's like,
right.
Yeah, she's like,
I get
there's
you.
like,
She
no,
was,
but
well,
again,
she was happy-go-lucky, and then she became
all
sad,
this goes
you
back.
know?
All this goes back to like the best way to describe this movie is it's like a bunch of Democrats tried to write their idea of a red
did,
state
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Is
that's
like
what
is
it
what
is.
what
They
happened.
go they literally like go to a rodeo and Glenn's like, I used to do the rodeo, and it's like, all right, screenwriter who lives 3 minutes away from this studio, relax.
Here's what I
relax.
here's what I think. Here's one possible moment that might have happened in the movie though off camera, because we get when Glenn shows up at Daisy's like childhood home, and Daisy's mom is Mara Tierney,
Yeah.
just giving you straight Mara Tierney attitude. It was
Perfect.
she's great. I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, Glenn and the mom.
That'd have been awesome.
Glenn and the mom have more chemistry, and like because they ceaselessly like infantilize Daisy, and so it's like, well,
know.
Glenn makes a better partner for the mom. And then when he has the famous shot in the trailer of him walking out of the house in the rain, I leaned over to Amy, and I was like, Glenn just fucked her mom. And she was like, I know. And it's like even though the movie refuses to acknowledge this,
you know what?
it's
that's
impossible
a good
to deny.
reading of the film.
It's
No, that's
impossible
good.
to deny.
I know.
And that would explain why he and Daisy never get together. It's because Glenn,
I like
is
that.
for all of his sexiness, is a man of honor, and
I
he
like
and
that.
he said, well, you know, I'm already in a committed relationship with your mother, and so
Call me dad,
call me daddy.
but not in the fun way. I am
Not in the
legally-
fun
I am
way.
legally
Your father.
Go upstairs, clean your room. All right, Brett. Well, that was another great episode of the pod. Thank you, Margot.
Thank
it's
you,
so nice to
Margot.
be back. Margot Padilla
So good to
on
be
the
back.
keys.
So good to be back. So we have, all right, let's talk about some of the stuff going on, because we have coming up for you in just about 10 minutes here. We are going to be back with a new episode of Basement Takes. You thought the takes on this show were hot? We're about to get freaking
Can I tell the good
lava
people?
hot.
Guys, we're ranking Marvel movies.
Are we doing that?
Come to Basement
All right,
Takes.
we're gonna
rank
rank
some
Marvel
Marvel movies.
We're going to rank Marvel movies. I have a couple shout outs of things I've been watching, and we'll stumble into some really just lava hot takes on Basement Takes tonight. I can feel it.
I got a good one.
Okay, good. Joe's got a good one. So make sure you hit us up for Basement Takes. That's only on the Patreon. If you're watching on Patreon right now, hang out. It'll start in 10 minutes. If you're watching on the Movies Baby YouTube, go sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys to get the full experience. We also, I'm sorry for the delay on this, but we do have a new After Death VHS coming out very soon to you.
Good. I need to know what to watch this
Very soon. So Sarah Freilich's incredible show After the VHS. I've seen the raw footage. I'm editing it right now. She has some killer takes, as always, some killer recommendations. So you can get your VHS fix on After the VHS. There's 3 episodes up right now. The 4th one's coming out very soon. Tomorrow we'll be back with a brand new Hot Dog and Gamer Boys. You can watch that live on Twitch at the Movies Baby Twitch, or you can catch the replay on Patreon. I haven't checked the schedule. I don't know what we're playing tomorrow, but it'll be fun, and we'll eat some hot dogs, and we'll play. You know what? I found a list of the top 10 hot dogs in LA. I was thinking we maybe start going.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, start getting the good stuff. And then next week, there he is, baby boy.
Wow.
I'm going to see this tonight, Joe. I'm going to go see this tonight.
God bless you.
I can't wait.
God
I can't
bless
wait.
you.
I'm going to go watch this tonight at AMC. It is next week. We are talking about Trap, the new M. Night Shyamalan with
Trap
Josh
summer.
Hartnett, and then we are going to be ranking M. Night Shyamalan movies, our favorite,
Yes,
our
that's
favorite M.
amazing.
Night
I
Shyamalan
cannot-
movies. It's all led to this.
There's a couple I'm excited to go back and dip into that
I
I,
know.
haven't seen in a
Same.
minute. Because I think I
Same.
know my top 5, but
Same.
I need to double, triple check.
And we'll figure out, I think top 5. I think what we did with Guy Ritchie is good for directors, like top 5.
That'll be great because
It forces us to make
hash
some
out
choices.
A ton of stuff. Right.
Top 10, I think, is going to be too easy. Let's do top 5. That'll force us to really make some hard choices.
Good.
So we're going to do the top 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies next week. Maybe Trap will be in there. We'll have to
I
see.
hope so.
We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. And then make sure you hang out and stick around the Patreon for Basement Takes. Coming at you in just about 10 minutes here. All right. Bye.